Ever crafted the perfect outbound campaign only to get ghosted? Well, you're not alone. In this video series, GTM teams get brutally honest about sales outreach, sharing their most creative tactics that got them ghosted when they should have landed a meeting and the unexpected approaches that actually worked. Today, it's great to be joined by Alexander, founder and CEO of Legal Tekno.
Thank you so much, Matt. Pleasure to be here.
So let's get straight into it. I would love to know about a time that you did a creative campaign that either got you ghosted or that was successful in landing a meeting.
Whatever, 6, 7 years ago, we were sort of figuring out how do we structure our commercial teams, like the whole go-to-market motion. We were a software company. We had about 4 or 5 million euro ARR, about 60 people at that point in time, and we'd raised a lot of money. So we had some initiative and we needed to do something to scale. What we did was that we decided to split our commercial team into pods, basically putting together sales, marketing, CS in one group, and then each pod would have a commercial focus, that being an industry, a segment, so that they had like a very focused approach to that. And the hypothesis was that if we put the commercial functions together, they won't be competing. Like, it won't be that classic battle between marketing, sales, and CS. They will work together quite nice. And that part actually worked really, really well. The outbound part here was we took what was on paper our most experienced salespeople, most experienced CS, and best marketeer in this. And we said, okay, guys, you get a new area. And in this case, it was sort of moving a little bit up market. And we put our best people to the task. And we segmented everything. We figured out what was the different industries and different focus areas, who's the target persona. We did quite some diligent stuff on ICP. And then we put them to work. They didn't have like a big marketing budget where they could do a lot of ads and all of these things. We were sort of, okay, let's do classic outbound, try to book some meetings. Let's figure out if this is an area we can get into. And after 6 months, we had almost booked no meetings whatsoever. We had learned nothing from this at all. Most companies, obviously they would pick up the phone, but they would ghost us completely. And to me, this wasn't the people, because we had some really skilled people working on this and they were quite experienced and they'd proven that they could do other stuff in other segments that we were targeting. Say, okay, was it the structure? Was it the product? What's up here? Well, we had 4 other pods focusing on different industries, different sort of size of companies, especially, and geography. And they booked meetings like hell. And it was quite obvious that the outbound that worked the best in those pods were the team where we had the most brand awareness in the market. So classic rule, just saying like outbound by itself, standing by itself without any support, whatever, from the brand, from other inbound efforts going on, and all of these like more holistic approach to your GTM motion. If you have only outbound and it stands by itself, you will likely fail.
I think that's a great example on, it's the first time that I've heard something like that, which is, I guess, the rawest and purest form of A/B testing, when you're literally doing it for a decent period of time. You mentioned there was about 8 months. And I think it's a really pertinent lesson today, given the fact that it's never been easier to do outreach at scale, but therefore it's never been harder to do outreach when it's just pure outbound, because everyone's inbox is clogged. Everyone's getting more and more cold calls, more and more messages. And it's like, actually, you need to layer on other factors. It's not just purely outbound by raw force will get things done. I think those days are largely, over. You've got to have supporting functions like different marketing motions, networks, partner marketing, a range of different factors actually supporting that. That's super interesting.
If you're just brute forcing outbound, it doesn't work. Like spamming people with LinkedIn messages, emails, etc. I get so many every day. I used to be quite diligent on sort of those that actually made an effort. I would sort of read them and maybe give them a response, and then everything else I would just delete. Now I'm actually deleting everything and I don't even read even the good ones. If there are good ones, they're hard to find at least. So I think that split is quite quite annoying.
Great. Well, speaking of, I guess, of like outbounds, inbounds, GTM, what is it that you tend to optimize for?
So I think if I split it into different efforts, I would rather split it into something needs to create awareness around who you are, right? Why do you exist? What is it that you're good at as a business, as an individual? Doesn't matter. That's the first part of it. You need to optimize for that because people don't know you or recognize you or sort of can ask their network about you, then it's very hard to get any positioning whatsoever anywhere. So that's the first thing we try to do. And then obviously something needs to close the sale. There needs to be some mechanism that closes it. And for, very few people, it will be sort of a very self-serve kind of setup. For most, you need something active to happen in order to close that deal. I think we split it very much into like the top level. That's very much community and network. So we try to drive different communities. We participate in communities. We give into those communities. We are quite diligent about which communities we give to. Not because it has to be direct customers that are going there, but then if we look at what we actively do, we have list of companies that we want to work with, industries, segments, all of these things, and we have named company lists. And then we start reaching out to them through sort of either direct channel because we get a sort of a hint that they might be looking for something, and then we reach out and be like, hey, should we grab a cup of coffee, do those things. But 95% of the time, we get an introduction to them, the relevant customer or prospect that we want to talk to, from people that we've met in our community building. So we try to utilize the community not to sell directly into the community. I think a lot of people try to do that, but then people, like the people that participate in that community, they see that quite quickly and then they stop participating. So in this case, you need to give your community so much value that they think you're a superstar and you're relevant within your space, so that they want to introduce you to someone who then might become your customer. I'm not saying we couldn't sell to the community members, but it's not a focus area. And I would say we rarely do it because we don't want to push directly into them. If they come to us and ask, hey, would you mind coming? Like, should we work together? Obviously, we will say yes, but we are hesitant to push very hard on the community members. We would rather have their network as clients, if that makes sense.
So true, so true. I think one of the things you said there that really resonated with building the community, I think it's just the value add. And I think so many people get this wrong, not just when you're thinking about, an in-person community gathering or like a WhatsApp group or space, but when anything like an event or an online event, it's all about adding value. And I think so many brands forget that. It's like, not they think they come at the lens of what's of interest to the brand versus what's of interest to the people who want to build this around. And I think it's time. I feel like a lot of people will try, might not get instant results because the nature community, it's not an instant, results sales mechanism and then give up. And I think the real valued community is those that continue to build, have been around for a while and show they actually genuinely care about, adding value to their target personas and not doing that, as you said, in a sort of salesy way, which people can, smell a mile off. Final question then. Would love to know one piece of advice that you would have for GTM teams doing outbound right now.
I think one thing that never gets old, and it didn't change with AI, is that you have to be very deliberate on what you're trying to achieve. If you're just sort of trying to throw stuff at the wall and see if it sticks, it's not going to work. And a lot of people still do that. Like, even you might have a lead list or something, and then you just start calling, but you have sort of no there's no goal, there's no deliberate actions on what am I gonna give to this. And to me, outbound is a long-term game. Like you're playing a long game on that one. Meaning, if you have an expectation that, oh, I'm going to reach my revenue goal within the next 3 to 4 months by really pushing on outbound, you fundamentally misunderstand how a sales motion work, because that is not how it is. The deals that close the fastest are the ones that are word of mouth. That's you getting recommended by someone else. Those close immediately, easy, done. That's part of your sales process. Those where you have to reach out, you might have a list of companies you want to work with. We've been through the same, right? They take time. A lot of nurturing, a lot of conversations. You might not hit them at the right time. And people are still too flaky around this. One email and you're done. One call, you're done. One sort of, hey, can we have 15 minutes of conversation? I hate those emails. Because why would I give you 15 minutes of conversation? Why? Like, if you're not offering anything to me, then you're wasting my time. Like, if I had to give 15 minutes of time to everyone who asked for 15 minutes of time, I would be probably 100 years old before I get out of my meetings back to back with 15 minutes sort of sections on that. And that's without toilet breaks. So be deliberate, have a plan, play the long game, find out who you're selling to, and become somewhat of a specialist in that topic. I think that's my advice sort of personally for younger salespeople, SDRs, ADRs, whatever they're called these days. Be careful that you're not becoming a generalist in a market where everyone can build anything. AI enables you to do fantastic stuff. It also enables you to learn whatever you want to learn about whatever topic. And if you're working within an industry, it is not very difficult to spend a week or 2 weeks, and I think every company should emphasize this towards their younger employees, or actually every employee, spend that time with whatever AI tool or whatever you can, learning about the industry, the challenges, and the product, how that fits into that, and just be nerdy about it, because it doesn't take much to be an expert. You just need to know a little bit more than the person you're talking to. Then you're the expert, right? And it's not hard to become an expert on a topic, especially not today. Knowledge is being democratized in an insane manner, meaning that everyone can access everything. There's no excuse for not knowing your customer, your prospect, your product, all of these things, but you have to be very intentional and very deliberate about you wanting to learn about that. So if you combine that, like the tactics, you could say, with your own deliberate actions on actually educating yourself, and I think you can still do an insanely good job, because people will still need software. It still needs to be sold, right? Still need to close the deals. But if you're just spending all your time trying to automate outreach with AI, you have misunderstood what AI can do for you.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Alexander, really appreciate your time. Great chatting and having you on.
Thank you, Matt.